I was a sophomore at the University of Idaho, a business major, and I had to take and pass macroeconomics. So I never missed a class. I'd get to the room and I'd sit at the top of the back of the room, and I studied and I studied and I studied the man 2 rows ahead of me. Because he was tall, and he was dark, and he was handsome, and I wanted him. So I studied to find out where he came from on his way to class. I studied where he went after class. I found out which dormitory he lived in. His was on the east side of the campus, mine was on the west side of the campus. I had a girlfriend that lived where he lived, and so I arranged for her to call me whenever she knew he was heading to the cafeteria. I would answer the phone, okay, he's heading our way, and I would just happen to arrive in the cafeteria night after night after night at exactly the same time he did. Oh, hello. Fortunately, he started liking this friendly, familiar face that he saw so often on campus. Unfortunately, once we got to know each other, we didn't have a thing in common. Nothing. So there was that attraction, but that we didn't have anything in common. There were the things you could see. He's male, I'm female, he's tall, I'm short, he's slender, I'm not. But there went way beyond that. The more time we spent together, the more I realized that opposites really do attract, and I had found myself strongly attracted to my exact opposite. We even shopped differently. Retail. I think of retail as therapeutic. He thought of retail as a stealth military operation. You had your objectives in writing. You got into the establishment, got only what's on your list, and got out of the establishment with minimal enemy contact. The enemy's anybody on a commission. I think that retail is therapy, and I love to go without having any idea what I'm looking for and wander aimlessly, touching, smelling, tasting, and talking about everything that I'm experiencing. So I thought, well, I'm going to bring him along because he has not had the full therapeutic benefit of retail. So I drag him into a women's retail establishment, and I'm going into my full retail mode, and I look over to see how he's enjoying it, and he's not. He's not touching things. He's not talking about anything. He's kind of got his eye on that exit sign, and he's just mesmerized by it. I could tell he's just thinking, how long till I can make my exit? So I think, well, I'm gonna entertain him. I grabbed something off of a rack that I would never wear. It was like a, I don't know, black leather biker mama blingy outfit, and I held it up in front of me and I said, hey, how would I look in this? And he turned around and he said, alone. Also, retail's not going to be the thing we have in common. So he has this really good idea. Let's go to the mountains. I like the outdoors. Let's go to the mountains. We take my Chevy Chevette up the mountain, and we park at a trailhead. We start down the trailhead, and then he turns out he's a forestry major, and he doesn't like to follow trails. He likes to go bushwhacking across country in the forest. So he's tall, remember, so he's taking these big long strides through the shrubs. I'm trying to keep up with him. We walk for quite a while, and I realize another thing that we don't have in common, I don't have any sense of direction. And I'm hoping he does. And I'm also hoping he doesn't leave me, because if he leaves me on that mountain, I'm not getting off. I don't know where I am at all. So I introduced the topic of where the heck are we? And I said, so where's the car? And he said, it's right there. And I see this big thick brush. And I said, really? And he parts it, and there's my little baby blue Chevette on the other side. So he didn't leave me on the mountain. We continued to get to know each other and realize how attracted we were, and yet not at all alike. So the Chinese say it's the theory of yin and yang, opposites attract. Light needs darkness, right? So we were definitely that. And I'm wondering, how is this ever going to work? And then one day the topic of children came up, and he was the first man I ever dated who had a plan for fatherhood. He was going to be a dad, and he was going to be an amazing dad. And he was telling, he even had a name picked out for a little girl if he had her. And I thought, well, that's something. I too want children. And I told him about this family I babysat for in high school. They had 4 little kids, 3 little lively boys and a little dark-haired girl. And so I told him, when I want to have children too, and when I do, I want to have 4 children, like this family I took care of when I was in high school. And he said, I will father 2 of those. Oh, you think that's funny, do you? Okay. Well, as I say to our 2 children, who have also noticed that their parents are opposites, and as they were trying to work through the dating and finding somebody for themselves, they would look at our example and think how hard it would be to be attracted to your opposite. And I would tell them, it really isn't as hard as it looks if the things that you're opposite are about each other, instead of finding them annoying, you think they're hilarious. And as long as that's true, opposites can get along fine, and light can exist because of the dark. So if you ever meet our children, and you would say to them, as many people have in their lives, your parents, they don't seem to have much in common. How did they ever meet? My children will look you right in the eye and say, Mommy stalked her. Mommy stalked him. Thank you.